Good morning, everyone. James earlier talked about setting the culture and getting the culture right. And he also talked about stories. So if you'll bear with me, I'd like to tell you a story. It's the story of a transformation of the culture of a law firm. I became managing partner 8 years ago and set out to make a law firm which was different. So let me just very quickly lead you through our story. Remembering this has taken 7 years and condensed down to a few minutes. So where were we when I took over as managing partner? We were a traditional, very conservative, safe firm, established in Cornwall in 1935 on the back of the China clay industry. We had some fantastic loyal clients. We had little or no focus, though. We really didn't know what we were doing. We had no strategy at all. We were a bunch of lawyers, partners who'd come together who basically just wanted to do legal work. And fundamentally, we were a partnership, which is a terrible model if you're setting up a new business and want to scale it up to more than 2 or 3. Because when you get to 20 partners and they all want to have a say in everything, you get nothing done. So that was where we were internally. Externally, the market saw us as old-fashioned, humble, traditional, risk-averse. We were known for quality. We didn't shout about that in the marketplace. We didn't actively go looking for new work. We definitely had no brand. But we did have a fantastic, loyal client base. So that was the start when I took over. That was the firm that we were. And I wanted to create something different, something very special. I don't think I should have ever been a lawyer. I'm not into detail. I like big ideas. In fact, my nickname from the board is Tigger, because I come to events like this and go bouncing in saying, we're going to do this, this, and this, and they put their head in their hands and start banging their head against the table. But again, James talked about it. The first thing that we looked at doing, we actually looked at who we were. As I said, we were a bunch of, ineffectively, sole practitioner lawyers who'd come together mainly because of the lifestyle. Quite a few of us had moved down from London, and we were just sort of in a loose form of partnership, although we were a formal partnership. We spent a long time with some external help trying to actually understand what we were about. Not we wanted to make money or things like that, but actually what drove us to be together in the West Country. And you're not going to believe the next slide, because this is what we came up with. We come up with the fact that we actually are a nice firm. We're a law firm. That doesn't sort of go together. I remember when we first, in a partners meeting, decided that we were nice. It took a long time. We were trying to wordsmith what we were. And lawyers, we were getting paragraphs of actually what we were. And then one partner at the back of the room put their hand up and said, "Is it because we're just nice?" The whole room recoiled. We were terrified about nice. Nice doesn't sit well with the nature of how we're combative and we want to win at all costs for our clients. But when we analysed it, we actually decided we were nice. We were nice to each other. We were nice to our clients. It actually drove a lot of how we worked. And it took 15 months, but we're now very comfortable in our skin in saying we are a nice firm. So once we decided that we were a nice firm, we then said, let's actually crystallise and agree the values to protect that core, our values and behaviours. So we came up and we asked staff what they felt about the firm. And it was interesting, they already knew we were a nice firm. It was only the owners of the business that didn't appreciate that or couldn't talk about it. But we came up with a set of values that have underpinned everything that we've done over the last 7 years. I won't read them all out, but these were actually voted on by staff using ping pong balls. And on the back of that, we then created our own behaviours booklet. Again, we asked staff for all of the examples about where exceptional behaviour was being shown, where good behaviour, and I wasn't allowed to call the third one bad behaviour, or I was told it had to be room for improvement. But the staff came up with all of the examples, and we have a very good 10-page booklet that we give to all new joiners that clearly sets out how we underpin our values and what the accepted behaviours are, which then feed through to appraisals and everything else. The thing that I'm passionate about, I'm not actually passionate about law. Again, I shouldn't have been a lawyer. But I'm passionate about two things which have really driven this journey and this story. I'm passionate about client service, client engagement. We are a client-facing organisation and business. But I'm also passionate about people, because you're only actually going to get exceptional client engagement and service if you've got engaged people. We all know and have all experienced ringing a hotline or speaking to somebody for an organisation that espouses across its website in every bit of literature that we give the best quality of service, we look after you, and we speak to somebody who is completely bored stiff with their job, has no interest in the business itself, is doing a 9 to 5 to be paid. That doesn't generate good client engagement and service. So we started on this journey focusing a lot internally, a lot on the people, building these foundations of culture into the business. And what I really wanted to do, from the staff perspective, I wanted to create an organisation where everyone in the firm was firstly proud of who they work for. So proud of the clients that we work for. Because at the end of the day, the clients are the lifeblood. So actually, if we don't really like the clients, or we're not really interested in the clients, how on earth can we expect the clients to want to engage with us? I wanted everybody to be proud of the quality of work that they do. Again, it is so easy in today's pressurized workplace to forget about quality, but quality is so important. Everything needs to be the best it can be. You need to have pride in the work that you're sending out. If you've got no pride in what you're sending to the client soon picks that up. Equally, I wanted everybody to be proud of the people they work with. Otherwise, how on earth can you get clients introduced from one person to the other? We needed to understand that we were in this together as a business. We weren't individuals. Lawyers are very competitive. They like keeping their own clients. We needed to make sure that we were cross-selling, terrible word, but we needed to make sure that we were proud of the work that our colleagues were doing. And finally, I wanted everyone who worked for Stephen Scown, and when I took over, there were about 170 people. I wanted them all to be proud of the firm. So how did we sort of achieve this? Well, one of the first things we did was I tried to destroy, and I use that word intentionally, the culture that certainly pervaded in our firm, and having spoken to other managing partners and other lawyers, I think pervades in the legal sector, of negative and criticism. And I think the reason of that is that we are trained as lawyers to destroy the other person's argument. We are trained to fight for our clients. Therefore, internally, it's very easy to pick up on the negative and the bad things that people are doing rather than the positive. So I set out to create a culture of praise and encouragement. Not easy with a bunch of cynical lawyers. And one of the first things that we did, and I've got a great marketing team, is I, with her, designed some positive postcards. Those are the first iterations. The actual slogans were all agreed by members of staff. And the idea was that if ever you saw anybody doing something good, and it could be from the small to the big, so that could be bringing in a new client, or it could be just you passed reception and heard of the receptionist actually dealing very politely and nicely with somebody on the phone, you would write one of these things and send it to them in the internal mail. It took about 12 months for staff to realise that there wasn't a catch to this, because this was a big cultural shift. And to be fair, there was myself, our marketing director, and a few other key individuals within the business who were just sending these all the time. But slowly the staff began to realise that this was actually true. We were genuinely thanking them. And they started to put them up around their workstations. I'll come back to a hidden benefit of that at the end of this story. But I really wanted to change the partnership. Now, most of the partners were incredibly cynical about this. They really could not see the point of sending a positive postcard to somebody who'd done something small. They were happy to congratulate somebody who'd brought in a £1 million client, but they didn't think anything of thanking people for the small things. So I really did just send tons and tons of these cards to the partners. And most of them put them in their drawers. I think few of them thought, what on earth is Robert doing? What's he on? What's he been drinking? But of course, we're all insecure, high achievers, and very competitive as lawyers. So about 18 months into this part of the journey, I started to notice that one or two partners had seen their teams putting their cards up, so they started to put their cards up. And it took about 3 weeks before people rummaged in their drawers and found that actually they had more cards than the partner next to them. So suddenly it took off. As I say, there were quite a lot of hidden benefits. A real hidden benefit that I've noticed only the last 2 years, you now walk around our 3 offices. We've got 1 in Exeter and 2 in Cornwall. And immediately you are presented with bright colours, with very positive messages, which straight away lifts the atmosphere in that part of the building, rather than bland magnolia. So that was a benefit that we hadn't appreciated. Right. Yes, the other thing we wanted to do, one of our core values is having fun. So, yeah, we do a lot of cheese. This started at an away day 4 years ago. I am a risk taker. I got 220 people by then in a room, and I said, right, groups A and B, you're going to go, first session, you're going to go and learn about the business. Groups B and C, you're going to go with Alan and Sue, who are 2 voice coaches, and they're going to teach you singing. Half of the room would have happily thrown me in the River Tamar. It was brilliant. Everybody sang back to each other, and on the back of that, we now have these 2 workplace choirs, the Rolling Scones in Exeter and the Scone Roses in Cornwall. But it's been a fantastic marketing thing. We go to events, we sing at the Exeter Festival of Food and Drink. We supported the Wurzels at the Devon show. Well, I should say I did, because I have to be in the choir. But actually, it's a fantastic leveller, because you've got myself as managing partner, and we've got right down to people who man the receptions. And of course, it's usually the unsung people who have the best voices who get the solos. But what's really nice is the way that when we go and perform at events, our colleagues come and support us. So that was one of the things we do. We also did a lot of other stuff to sort of engage with our staff. We have knitting clubs, we have Pilates, we have table tennis, we have art clubs running at lunchtime. Very few of these we actually pay for. One of the great ones that I like is that somebody who has caring responsibilities said, could we set up a carers support club, which we do. All we do is we pay for a sandwich lunch every quarter, and everybody with caring responsibilities just gets into a safe space to talk about their needs and their frustrations and hopes, etc. So lots of things. The Innocent Smoothie. Who knows the Innocent Smoothie Age UK campaign at Christmas? They knit bobble hats for the Innocent Smoothie bottles. Well, Age UK was our charity of the year, and our knitting group in Exeter last year knitted 600 Innocent Smoothie hats. That was fantastic in itself, but that got all the way back up to Coca-Cola Innocent Smoothie. That this law firm had knitted 600 of these bobble hats. So turning to clients, we'd set the culture for the people. We'd got our staff really engaged. They knew the values, they knew the behaviours. We then had to turn to client service. And what I wanted to do was I wanted firstly to find out what the client wants, because we are very good at telling the client what they want. Then we had to understand how they wanted the service delivered, because again, we're very good at telling the client how the service will be delivered. And more importantly, in today's society, we had to make sure we were delivering the service at a cost which was value for money for both us and the client. So what did we do? I looked outside of the legal sector. Has anybody heard of Nordstrom? A few hands. Nordstrom are a very large department store in the States. And Nordstrom have created something magical. They've created something called Nordy Stories. Why it's magical is that you can go on Google and look at these. Half of the stories you see aren't true, or as Donald Trump would call, they're fake news. But it doesn't matter, because the perception that the customers in the States have is that they are real stories. A couple of examples. Somebody went into a Nordstrom store and said, I bought these snow chains, they don't fit. The person on the desk gave them a full refund, even though Nordstrom don't sell snow chains. Another one, somebody who was a regular high-end shopper in the ladies' fashion department in New York, went in, came home and noticed that she'd lost the diamond from her engagement ring. She rang the store, they closed the whole floor, this is in Madison Avenue, whole floor, got everybody out, they got every vacuum cleaner in the building, they hoovered every inch of that floor, went through the bags and found the diamond, rang the customer and said, we found your engagement ring. Think of the power of that story. So we decided to create our own stories. Again, we love our puns. Ours are called Scown stories. So we got people to recommend members of staff. Again, the key part of our journey is it's not big bang, it's not rocket science, and if you're a startup, small steps over time make a massive difference. Don't think you've got to go from 1 to 10 in one leap. So we started to get people to recommend other members of staff for Scown stories. A couple of examples. We were acting for a startup who was going to start a new cupcake business in Exeter, Cake-a-Doodle. And the lawyer was really conscientious and helped this person through the startup process. But rather than just sort of shaking hands and having a glass of fizz when the shop opened, this lawyer went round the Exeter office, personally said to loads of people, look, this is a new client, they've started up, would you go sometime in the next 2 weeks and buy some of her cakes? So this new client suddenly had a stream of people from Stephen Scown coming in and buying new cakes. But not only that, the lawyer in question would go to events where they had canopies or whatever, and she would actually give this client's business card to the organizer saying, look, this is a new startup, fantastic product, why don't you get in contact? Again, think of the benefit and the power of those stories that client is now telling. A second one, just quickly, there was a matrimonial lawyer, had a male client come in just before Christmas talking about custody, and he got in and he had 2 big bags of shopping, sat down and just burst into tears. And she said to him, well, what's wrong? And he said, well, I've never wrapped a present in my life before. So she actually went out into town, bought the wrapping paper, sellotape, didn't have the meeting, just spent the next 40 minutes wrapping these presents for the client. The other thing about that, we now put them on poster size, they're framed, they're all around the meeting rooms, they're all around reception. So as soon as a client comes in, they're reading positive messages about the firm. So we have client engagement, we have people engagement, but the third thing that we really wanted to focus on in this journey is our community engagement. We are a Southwest law firm. We have no real ambitions to conquer the world. We love Devon and Cornwall. We love where we live. We love the people we work with. One of our key sectors is the agricultural sector. So 4 years ago, as we all know, the milk price was going through the floor. So we commissioned some independent research, paid for ourselves. Would you pay more if it was local? Would you buy local if you knew it was local? Of course, resounding people came back, yes. So we launched this online campaign, it was called Put Your Milk Moustache Where Your Milk Is. We got quite a lot of celebrities. Michael Caine was involved. We got over 6,000 people supporting this campaign. It was picked up by national radio, national press. But it was great because the community recognised we were trying to help a key part of the Southwest. And then the other thing that we've done is our Love Where You Live campaign. Again, we all really would love being in the West Country. That's why we want to be in business down here. About 3 years ago, my marketing director came and saw me and she said, Robert, are you in a good mood? I'm always in a good mood, so I said, and she looked at me quizzically. I said, yes, I'm in a good mood. And she said, I've got a mad idea. Now, she'd immediately got me because she knows I love mad ideas. It wasn't a business plan, it wasn't a lot of paper, it was just, I've got this mad idea, I'd love to buy a bright orange camper van. I immediately said yes and then realised I actually didn't have board authority to spend £18,000 on a vintage camper van. But we went through the process and we now have a bright orange camper van, branded not really with Stephen Scown, but branded with Love Where You Live. So that was the start of this campaign, which has won national awards and actually won a national marketing award against Pepsi-Cola and a load of others on Wednesday night up in London. Because what we ended up producing was a brochure called Love Where You Live. I haven't got copies, I'm afraid, but I can leave this at the front of the stage for you to look at. All of the photos and the stories in this were fed in by staff, and it had things like your best dog walking beach, your best quiet walk, your best fish and chips in the region. Absolutely fantastic, really, really well presented. A hidden benefit, we now get hotels, bed and breakfast, pubs asking for us to print more of these which they can leave in their premises. But it was fantastic. It really engaged the staff. It showed the staff that we were committed to the region. It showed the region we were committed to it. We now run a scheme that if any member of staff sees the camper van out on the road, takes a photo, uploads it onto our social media, they get given a chocolate orange. And then finally, the last thing of the piece on the jigsaw, the culture had changed. We created something different. We created something quite special. But there was one final piece that had always been in my thought process. I wanted to create a law firm that had genuine ownership for the members of staff. Unheard of in the legal profession, very difficult to do regulatory, but we did it. It's called Scownership. I'm very honest with the staff. All members of staff have a very, very, very small part of ownership through an EBT. But what they do get is they get a share of the profits. So every year we set a profit target figure for the firm, and the staff know that if we exceed that profit figure, 50p of every pound over that target figure goes into the EBT to be distributed to members of staff. We've only been running it 18 months, but we're already seeing some amazing benefits. So again, if you are a startup and you're looking to scale up, get your staff engaged really early. Don't be frightened, because actually if they're engaged, they will give that better client service, which then creates better revenue streams, etc., etc. But where we're beginning to see a real benefit with the scheme we've put in, we could have just kept our very complicated and diversive bonus system, but we went to this profit distribution. All members of staff are now beginning to understand that it's not just the top line, it's not just revenue that matters. Most bonus schemes are based purely on revenue. It's actually the bottom line. And they're also beginning to realise that if we can save a bit of cost here and there, it has a disproportionate effect on the profit than actually getting more revenue. So, in July this year, we got the trustees of the EBT to announce the figure to all 200. We're now over 300, but I think there were 270 people there. We had a massive party. I stood up on stage to introduce it and got blown away by people blowing kazoos at me for 5 minutes. I couldn't say anything. But it was fantastic. And that was the culmination of our story. But it hasn't stopped. That really is just the first chapter. We've got an awful lot more we want to do. We know we can engage better with clients. We know we have to really embrace much more digital, much more flexible ways of clients working. But I believe that we've created something very solid. We've got the culture right. We're preserving the culture. And we've got real buy-in and engagement from our staff. As I say, the Times 100, we're 16th at the moment. We're the highest law firm, in fact, we're the highest professional service firm in the country. We entered it 3 years ago. Staff are really proud about the fact that we're in that list. They're really proud about the fact that they have this Scownship ownership. And then, finally, the takeaway I would give to you, if you're looking at trying to change culture, is don't tell people what, tell them why. And I learnt that quite early on in our journey. If you want to get buy-in from your staff, if you want to get buy-in from the people you work with, don't just tell them what to do. Explain to them why you want to do it. Show them why it's relevant to them. We have a salary bill of over 1.2 million a month. If I say to the staff we need to collect cash of 1.2 million, that's a lottery winning amount. If I actually say we need that to pay your salary so that you can pay your mortgage, so that your family can live, so that you can go out and enjoy yourself, it suddenly becomes relevant. So really, really key bit. Don't just tell the what. Don't just say what we're doing or what you want them to do. Explain, take time and explain to them why you want to do it. And then that's my final slide, which is we've had a fantastic year last year, and those are all of the awards, not the one on Wednesday, all the awards that we won last year. And what I really like about some of those awards is that very few of them actually are from the legal profession. They're from other professions, the Professional Managing Partners Forum, which encompasses professional services across the globe, and European Business Awards. So if you take time, and it does take time, that's a very, very short snapshot. I love talking about my story. I love storytelling. I could talk for hours about our journey. It hasn't always been easy. It's been lonely at times, but do take the small steps. It's the little things that will actually make the difference to your business. If you want to go from start to scale up, concentrate on the little things, get your staff really engaged, look at providing excellent service, and that virtuous circle that we all talk about will pay dividends. Thank you very much.